Welcome, everybody. This is Julia with Stork'd, the podcast about modern ways to build family. And today we're here with Ashon Avent. He is an entrepreneur, a father, and recently a grandfather. And I'm here with Ashon Avent, who has a very different path from my own in the way that he's chosen to define his family, to create his family. His journey started at age 16, and he's going to tell us about his path through parenting, his professional path into entrepreneurialism, and some personal feedback for us. Thank you so much, Ashon, for joining us. Ashon, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Welcome, everybody. My name is Ashon Avent, owner of Main Event Sports and Apparel, and also I, too, Can Be Healthy LLC, where I help people who have diabetes and obesity make healthy choices. And I'm a family man of 5 beautiful children.
So happy birthday. 41.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, 41, chapter 41.
Chapter 41. Tell us who is in your family unit.
Yeah, so my oldest son is 24. Or he's 23, he'll be 24 in December. Then I got twins that are 17, and they'll be 18 in October. And then I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
You and I, we've talked about this before, we have like opposite life experiences.
Yeah.
You know, in that you are 41 years old as of this week and are already a grandfather, and I'm 38 and have yet to have the child experience.
Sure.
But this journey of yours to becoming a parent and then a grandparent is one of the reasons that we're here to talk. We're also here to talk about your professional journey and you know, some of your life journeys. So why don't we start closer to the beginning? Tell us where you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in the Hartford area. In Hartford, not the area. And right in the inner city, on the north end of Hartford. And I went to public school. And, you know, got involved in a lot of teenager activities. You know, when you're involved in the inner city, you get into some things. You know, you try to find yourself through groups, right? So sometimes you might identify with a certain group of people. And some people might say, you know, it's gang related or club related, but sometimes you just identify with those people just because that's where you turn to, right? For relationships, that's where you turn for love sometimes, and that's where you turn to for peer advice, you know. But I played sports, I played basketball, and so I was able to go through like the recreation center, the Boys and Girls Club places, you know, and develop healthy relationships through there. But it was tough navigating. I grew up without my dad. My stepdad, he was, you know, a drug user for a portion of his life. So I saw that part of his life. You know, eventually he got it cleaned up, you know, in my later years. But during the early years, you know, it was a little difficult, you know, for us. So, you know, having those experiences and then being a dad at 16, you know, or 17, was pretty interesting, you know, at a young age.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I also really curious about your use of the word healthy relationships. It sounds like you were gaining visibility or a sense of healthy relationship building in your athletic experiences and in your social life. Tell us a little about what it was like to define healthy relationships, or how you then defined them.
Yeah, well, you know, the reason I define those relationships as, you know, it's healthy is because you can easily get into a very unhealthy relationship by your association with somebody, and the chances are it probably can cost you your life by being in an unhealthy relationship or being around the wrong group of people or being on the wrong side of town with the wrong person at the wrong time. You know, violence was very prevalent, you know, in the area at times because, you know, in Hartford, the gang activity was starting to ramp up very rapidly. So you had to sometimes make sure you knew who you were around because, you know, it could be costly for you. You can get yourself into some trouble. So I had to sort through different people to make sure that I'm around the right person at the right times. And
how did you know that? How did you identify who was a good person for you or a good fit?
Yeah, that's a good question. How you identify is through their character and the things that they do, right? And sometimes you just have to use your inner gut feeling sometimes. You know, you have to follow your gut. And because if you don't, then you can find yourself in uncompromising situations. So some of it is just, you know, people's character and them sticking to their word or their daily habitual activities, you know, or sometimes their demeanor or temperament. kind of tells you everything you need to know.
So you're 16 years old. You are finding your relationships and your sense of meaning and community through your athletic endeavors. Mm-hmm. And your step-parent at the time does not have a healthy relationship with drugs and alcohol, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find yourself a parent. You become a parent at age 16. What was that experience?
It was kind of scary, to be honest, because not really having a good example of someone to see, as a dad, it was difficult, because there's no roadmap, there's no guidance. And, having a baby at 16, it kind of, you became an X factor, in high school, right? Like, oh my God,
What do you mean an X factor?
Then, well, you become an outlier or an outcast.
Like everyone knows that you're the dad, you're the one with the kid.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of writes you off a little bit, right? So you already have a couple strikes against you because you grew up in the inner city where education is, is inferior to other places. And then I went to a very populated high school. It must have been about 2,500 students in our high school, right? So
it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And from that, you become an outcast. So you go from being popular to being, oh my gosh, you're having a baby. What are you going to do with your life? And you feel the pressure. And with that, I started dabbling in a little street activity because I thought I needed to make money quickly, right? And
so you're feeling a pressure to provide for this child.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can't really get a job that early, so it takes time. And for you to kind of figure out what you want to do with your career, like I'm 16, or 17, turning 17, you really don't know what you're going to do for your career because, you're scared. There's no roadmap and people are saying they're disappointed in you and, how are you going to make it? Those are big questions. What are you going to do with your life? When you ask someone at 17, no one knows really, what are you going to do with your life? I think when at the baby shower, it really hit me like, wow, I got somebody that's coming into this world and I need to learn how to change a pamper. And I'll never forget some lady, her name was Miss Mack. She pulled me out of class because she heard I was having a baby, and we had like this parenting class where we kind of talked about some of the expectations. And I think having a home economics class where you change the baby, I think that was the only time I had an interaction or learning how to change the baby at that time. And my sister was 10 years younger than me, so I had a little bit of practice with that. I was changing diapers, but it was still a huge thing when you have to change your own baby diapers and you're at the hospital and you cut the umbilical cord and you see all these things at 17. And I'm in the middle of basketball season while this is happening too.
Were you able to juggle basketball and parenthood and schoolwork at the same time?
I can't say that I was the most studious person, so I can't say I balanced that, no. But yes, I think the parenting and the basketball, I think I took my son almost to every basketball court that was possible that I could, and then just put him in the car seat, and I just toted him with me everywhere I could go.
Wow. I love this image of a teacher coming. She was a teacher, this woman who came and taught you how to change a diaper. Mm-hmm. Did she do that prompted? Did you ask for help? Or did she just say, I see in you somebody who might need a little guidance?
Well, I just remember, I think that was her job, was to seek after people who were having babies in high school. She ran this program. It's in the back of the hallway in the back. You would walk right by it, was her office. But it was a safe haven for other people who were having children. And she was able to provide like some services, talking about birth at 3 and those services that, you need and, what is it that you're looking for and how can we support you here? What's your feelings? And it was set up in a non-threatening circle wise where you were free to disclose and be vulnerable, and some people were scared. There was male and female in there. But it was necessary though, when she was heaven sent at the time because I was terrified, to be honest.
I would imagine. Was she the primary person that you learned parenting from, or were there role models or other people in your life that you looked to as an example of the type of parent you wanted to be?
Yeah. I mean, my mom is an amazing woman. She's like 5'3", short little lady. She's super quiet, but she's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen in my life. And she gave me a great example, what that's like to work hard and be a great parent. She didn't always say yes, but she didn't always say no either. So, she did the best she can, with me. And, One thing about me is I kind of do what I want to do when I want to do it. I've always been like that, I think.
Do any of your kids take after that willfulness that you say you have?
Yeah. The youngest one, his name is Grayson. He just does what he wants to do when he wants to do it. He's getting ready to be 2 next month, and he just absolutely doesn't listen to anybody. He's not bad, right? Or he's not like a kid that you're like, oh my gosh. He's actually pretty sweet and cuddly. We call him Shugs, or Shuggy, right? Because all you want to do is hug him and kiss him. But he just does what he wants to do. He just has his mind made up, and he just blocks everything out. And then there's Austin. Austin is like a genius, actually. He's like a kid genius. His vocabulary is unreal for a kid his age. And then the twins, one of them is a very competitive. I got twin boy girls, so Janae and Jordan. One is a super competitor because he plays basketball, so he has that kind of relentless attitude. But my daughter is more like, she has the business side. She got more
She's the
like,
brains.
She definitely is. She's always been the brains. We used to call her Mother Goose when she was younger because she was the brains. But she has that more business savvy mindset. She want to do some things, and she sees life differently. She got the hustler side inside of her. This is my oldest son. Yeah, the hustler side. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's funny because you mentioned that your youngest son, the 2-year-old, has your willfulness. He's most like you. But I remember from an earlier conversation that you've got a lot of hustle. You've got a lot of business savvy. So it sounds like your daughter takes after you a little bit too.
She does actually, and that's how I had to learn. How to survive is you have to learn how to hustle. You don't hustle people, but you have to learn how to get out there and get after it. And my career path, I think I had at least 20 jobs, but then I ended up developing a clothing brand that was called No Luck, All Hustle. Right?
No luck, all hustle. That's your clothing brand.
Yeah. So it's kind of my motto. It's kind of my mantra for my life. Mm-hmm. Nothing comes by chance. Everything comes by effort. And playing basketball, I was never the most talented player, actually. I probably could have been the worst player on my team.
I'm sure that's not true.
Skill-wise, I was. Some of the people, skill-wise, they were very more advanced than me. I just had more heart and more passion than probably anybody else. And it would show in my play, as being the leader and not backing down from anybody. I'm 6'2", and I was an undersized center at the time, and I played forward a little bit. And I used to compete with people who were 6'7", 6'8", 7-footers. And I never backed down. I never was afraid. I never was scared. And I think that's how most people remember me athletically, never being relentless and not being afraid.
So you talk a lot about your athletic career and the way it shaped you. And you were in high school, you're a recent parent, you're a student athlete, you've got this heart, this hustle on the court. And now the person that I've recently met is somebody who has several businesses, who's skillfully managing a big family. Talk about that professional journey from student athlete and dad to where you are now.
Basketball kind of took me from the heart and soul of Hartford that brought me to Eastern. And then from that point, it exposed me to different opportunities because of that, I was able to do internships. So I did 7 internships when I was in college. That's
quite a lot of hustle.
And also being able to be diverse, because I grew up in the inner city. High school is majority minority, 99.9% black, to be honest with you. So in that, going to school kind of opened me up professionally because I was the only black person in my dorm.
That must have been just such a culture shift. So different.
Yeah, it was actually. I'll never forget my first day. We had our hall meeting, and I was running back. I was running kind of late, and I got there, and everyone was already in there already, and I come busting in, and I was like, I was like a deer in headlights. It didn't hit me until I saw everybody in there at one time because, everyone's all scattered out, but then it was all in the room at one time. I never forget. I froze, and for the first time in my life, I think I was nervous and scared and afraid all at the same time.
Oh my
because
gosh.
I felt like I was alone for a minute. Like none of my friends were here. I didn't know anybody in my dorm, and it was tough,
From hustle, you don't shy away from work. You say on the court, I've got heart.
It's true. So I worked hard, but academically I struggled because I was a class clown and a lot of things caught up to me. All of the skipping class and, fooling around in high school and not paying attention. It caught up to me after a while. I had to really buckle down. I had to get some tutors. I couldn't just turn in, a bunch of foolishness. I'll never forget, I turned in my first college paper. And I got a little bit of ego sometimes. So I never forget, the professor writes the word "see me" on there. And so everyone's getting their grades back. Some people getting B's and C's and A's. And she wrote "see me" on there. She's like, this is one of the worst papers I've seen ever in my college career. And I'm really concerned that you might not make it through if you continue to write like this. My heart sank. It gave me a real reality check to say that, you know what? All the BS and all the foolishness has to stop at some point. And that kind of hurt me a little bit because my pride and my ego was crushed. But then it motivated me to say, you know what? You can't just keep trying to get over. You can't just do enough to get by. You have to push yourself a little bit further. And you got to work at it, I wasn't, growing up in the inner city school system, you kind of miss some things sometimes if you don't have the right teachers that are patient with you, to help you develop. And they caught up.
If you were this teacher looking at a paper that she didn't think was all that strong, would you have done what she did, which is call you out on it and say, this isn't up to par, or would you have handled it differently?
Nah, if it was me doing that and the type of ego, the way I came in, yeah, absolutely, I would handle it that way. Definitely 200%. She handled it appropriate for me. I would approach it the same way.
How many of your early experiences in high school and college are now reflected in the way you coach people? Because you're a health coach. Like, do you see some of your techniques or your philosophies reflected in the way that you yourself received feedback in coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not make excuses. People do things that they want to do because you want to do it. You can't have any excuses. If you want to do it, then you'll make the time for it. And if you want it bad enough, then you'll find a way to get it done. And
so your coaching style is what? What's your coaching style?
Is to push you close enough to the edge where you feel like you're probably going to fall off and then snatch you right back. Right. So what does that mean? That means that I'm going to push you a little bit further than you would normally go and not back down from you. So I'm not afraid of you. I'm not intimidated. So you can't say anything that's going to hurt me or offend me because I'm here to get the best out of you. So you know what? You can do it. You just have to push yourself a little bit further. You got to tap in and dig deep, or you have to be able to get into a zone, right? And sometimes people are not sure how to get into that zone where you have to go a little bit further than you would normally go. And that's kind of my style, is to push you but pull you up at the same time.
Okay. All right. So it's like tough love, tough nurturing.
Yeah, correct. Yes. But it's all love though, because you know that I care. Because I'm going to give you 100% every single time, and I don't expect anything less than that back.
Is this similar to your parenting style? Like, do your kids get pushed in the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course they do. The babies have taught me a little bit more patience, though. I must admit, Grayson has definitely taught me patience. I try to be tough with these guys, but the little babies, they soften me up a little bit. But the other three, they feel the pressure. I push them because one of them I used to coach, my oldest son. And it was tough, coaching. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I coached him for years. It was tough, because when we get in the car sometimes, he wants to be a kid. I'm like, you didn't do your best. Did you give 100%? And that's my biggest thing is you just give 100% of everything you do. And he would go, no. So I'm like, well, what's stopping you from giving 100%? Well, so when you're ready to give 100%, you let me know.
So you were tough on him, on your eldest son.
I was, yeah. But now he's more mature now, so he can understand. Now that he's a parent now, he kind of sees, well, I guess my dad wasn't that bad after all. He did push me, but he loved me at the same time, So is being a grandparent or being a slightly older parent now with the younger ones part of the reason that your parenting style has changed a little bit, or is it a factor of their personality? A factor of their personality, but also just being more wiser. What did you learn from between parenting your first child and now parenting your younger two babies? Yeah, you have to invest in them. You have to invest something into them, either time or resources to help them grow. I think kids are like like caterpillars, right? They start off kind of slow, and then they go through this metamorphosis stage. But if you don't put anything in front of them to help them change, then they're not gonna be able to experience different things in life. But it's not really about money, really. It's just about experience and opportunity to do something different. So with them, during that parenting time, I learned that you have to invest in them to do something, not necessarily what you feel is best for them, but kind of guide them and push them to do something that they might latch on to. And I think that was the key to helping me out of the inner city in life, was to find something I could latch on to help explore my opportunities, And
that something was basketball, or it was your kids?
It was, definitely. Until I got to college and I joined this group called Men Achieving Leadership Excellence and Success. And it was a brotherhood. And that kind of helped me develop into a man, more of a man than I am now.
Okay, wait. This is really interesting. Men Achieving Leadership Excellence and Success.
Yeah, for the short of it with males. Yes, that was.
And it helped you develop into the man that you want to be, or the man that you've become. Define that shift, define the man that you are today and that you're most proud of. Tell me about that.
Sure. Yeah. And males we had a pledge, right? And it wasn't a fraternity. It was more of a student organization. And the pledge started off like this: as a brother of the males organization, I pledge to hold myself and other members accountable, right? And because of that, we held each other accountable.
Accountable to what? What were you hoping to be or achieve that you needed accountability for?
It's all in the name: men achieving leadership, excellence, and success, right? But also growing personally as a man, learning how to be vulnerable. As a man, sometimes you're never taught to be vulnerable. Especially growing up where I grew up at. Any kind of vulnerability is softness, and people will take full advantage of it. Showing vulnerability, and because of that, you develop this hard exterior where you don't trust anybody, you don't let people into your circle, So when I got in this group, it taught me how to trust, and it taught me how to rely on my brother for certain things. And we did community service. We built some houses together for Habitat for Humanity. We traveled together. We went to spring break together, and we also did extracurricular activities together. We would do fundraisers on campus, and one of our events was Women's Appreciation Day. And we would stand in front of the classroom building a handout.
When you started telling me about this men's group, this group that taught you how to be male, I never expected you to use words like vulnerability, trust, and women's appreciation.
Some of it was kind of selfish reasons. We would do women's appreciation. So we would stand in front of a building. We would get probably 200 carnations or roses, and we would pass them out to women and say, "Oh, we appreciate you."
And how many numbers did you get as a result?
Yeah, that was part of it. Right. Selfishly, that's what you would do. You would take your 10
and phone numbers, I bet.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, correct. Yeah. When you talk about vulnerability, we went on this retreat, actually. And the retreat is set off in this ropes course. And we would do things like the trust fall. So the trust fall is where you just fall back and you expect the person behind you to catch you. And because of that, you develop that trust and that comfort when someone catches you. And then there were exercises where we actually had to depend on each other to get through the exercise. There was this wall. And we failed miserably the first time because you got these alpha males, right? You hear that term now. And, everyone wants to be a leader, right?
Right. And it's in your name, right? Leadership is part of what you're trying to achieve here. Correct. So I bet it attracts alpha males.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it does. So, do you have not just alpha males, but then you have people who are from the inner city that are alpha males. And then you have people who are just outright just strong-willed individuals. So this wall was about at least 12 feet tall. No rope, no anything. We had to get over there. So we had to figure out how the hell we were going to get over this wall and pull everybody up over the wall. And because of that, one person was afraid. And he couldn't get up there. He started crying because it got emotional. He was like, "There's no way I'm going to get up here." And he was a little heavier individual. And we figured out a way to get him up over the wall. And from that point right there, we all started to cry. And at that That point right there, I think it changed my life to say that it's okay to get emotional in front of other people because the emotions are what help brings the bond together. It's okay to have doubt. It's so naturally okay to have fear. But when you have people supporting you and cheering for you and say, yeah, Julia, you can do it. Let's go. Push yourself, and you hear that coming from other men. It's like 20 or 30 other men. You hear your name. It just does something to you with the inside to make you feel like you can believe and that you can do something special. And that's what it was. And it kind of broke me down from that point on, and it made me realize that these are the type of relationships that I want to have in my life with other men.
How do you take that, like that moment, that visceral moment of feeling supported and a member of a team and successful? Mm-hmm. How do you take that into your parenting, into your everyday life, into your relationships?
Yeah, well, I try to take other people under my wing and teach them and give them that support that they need.
So let's go back for a second, if you don't mind. What prompted you to get your MBA? Yeah. What drove you to decide that this is the next thing that you need in your life?
It kind of was one of those things where I felt as though I needed to push myself a little bit because I wasn't academically strong in high school. I made it through college. I definitely became a better student. But then I wanted to say, I proved to myself that I can get my master's degree.
So what did you feel like when you graduated from your MBA?
Yeah, I felt like, damn, like I go from being this kid who was, definitely non-studious to being able to say, hey, I did it. I did something that I went to another level with this thing of education, to say I can go there and I can compete with anybody, no matter where you come from, no matter what your background is. I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I just got to work hard as everyone else. I think that's more my motto, and that's what I proved to myself. You don't have to be the smartest, but you definitely got to work hard than the smartest person.
It sounds a lot like your motto when you're playing basketball. You don't have to be the most skilled, the one with the most heart.
No, that's true. And that's where the no luck or hustle comes in at, And people are like, oh, you got your MBA. Like, yeah, I don't really realize it is a big deal because it's like, when I put my mind to it, I'm sure that I can do it, but.
I think it is. So you're currently a grandparent. Your oldest son had a child 2 years ago?
1 year ago.
1 year ago. What is it like to watch your child parent?
Yeah, it's really weird, because he's still learning how to develop himself as a man. So to see him develop into this young man and then have his own child who looks just like him, like it's like a spitting image that she looks just like him. And it's weird because she has the same mannerism and facial expressions as he does. So it's really weird. I'm thankful I'm able to see his progression as a young man to somebody who's more responsible now. But it's also good to be able to see that, I guess as a man, you just want to see your family, I don't want to say tradition, but your family lineage, I should say, grow. And be able to see that at a young age that I'm at now kind of is really good.
So what's your legacy? As a parent of 5, what legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Julie. Wow. I think I want to leave them with something, type of generational wealth that they can use to springboard their dreams. But the legacy really is to wear your name proudly, and not be afraid of it, of who you are. And to say that I have this Avent blood inside of me so I can do things that I can set my mind to if I really work hard at it. I think that's the tradition, is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, try something different, try something new, and allow that to lead you into where you want to go to. But don't ever be afraid to be a leader, because we don't shy away from challenges. We go towards them, and you help out the next person. You got to take somebody under your wing, and you got to teach them, the next, you can't have all the resources for yourself and not help or teach somebody else. That's one of the things that I try to share with people, is to open up the resources to teach and help somebody else.
To pass it forward, literally.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Was there any moment where you thought about not participating as a dad?
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, hell yeah, because, each one of us is selfish. I think men are selfish at times, and we don't understand the inner workings of what pregnancy is like for women. So it feels like when you're having a kid, it's going to take something away from what you're doing. And at the time, I'm like, oh, this is going to mess up my basketball career, and I'm not going to be able to do certain things because I'm going to be bogged down with a baby and this and that. And, you know, and it doesn't feel good. It feels like you're going to lose a major portion of your life because of this responsibility that comes. I think it's like that now as an adult. I think
Really?
kids take up more time. Hell yeah, the kids take up more time than you can imagine, probably.
This podcast is about the way in which people build family. And you've built a family with 5 children, a grandchild, multiple businesses. You've talked about blending families, having kids younger, later. Is there any message or takeaway you want the audience to hear from you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And what I mean by that is sometimes our families don't start in the ideal way, or sometimes life doesn't start in the way we want it to go. But it's never too late for you to be able to change those things. I had to go back to my children and apologize to them and tell them I'm sorry that I wasn't the parent I was supposed to be because I was so young. I didn't know any better. I had to tell them I'm sorry. There's certain things I didn't tell you. So it's never too late to, I guess, rekindle those relationships that are broken, right?
How did you muster the courage to turn to your kids and apologize to them?
I think, there's a difference between having a bond and having a relationship with somebody. And I wanted to make sure that I had a bond and try to develop a bond, with them. I had a relationship with my dad, but we didn't have a bond, right? I couldn't talk to him about certain things because he missed a great portion of my life. So I never wanted to be like that. I wanted to always be supportive of them and let them know I was there, whether it be physically or just there supportively, and I had to kind of go back and do that because that's kind of essentially what my dad did with me, right? I sat down with my dad and he apologized to me, about not being there, in my life. And, I always wondered what that conversation was going to be like growing up. Eventually, I felt I was going to run into him sooner or later. And he was living in North Carolina, and he came up to see me, and he apologized. He said, I'm sorry I wasn't there. And you know what I did? I told him, I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I only can judge you from this point on in our relationship, wherever we go from there. So I kind of opened up that door for him to be the dad that he wanted to be. So we call, we talk and chit chat. And I kind of see where I got a lot of my personality from. My mom's kind of an introvert. She's more laid back. She's really cool, calm, and collective. But me, I'm a little bit different. So with that, I wanted to open the door for my kids to be able to share, some of the things that they might be struggling with. So I opened the door for that, and I also opened the door to say, hey, I failed in a relationship with your mom, and I'm sorry, that happened. And I'm sorry that, you guys are away, and our family is not together and things like that. So, I had to have a vulnerable moment.
It's just so powerful to have a parent open their heart in that way to you.
Mm-hmm. And I also tell them, I always try to give them some advice. Say, hey, if I die right now, I want you guys to know this. I always do that. Leave them with some parting words of wisdom. Don't be afraid to do something different. Don't be afraid to make the unpopular decision or get comfortable being uncomfortable or, give it your all and 100%. Or if not, don't do anything at all. It's kind of where I kind of push them. So
put yourself out there, see what you can create.
Yeah. Play in
the same way that you've
cool.
created many different businesses and you've pushed yourself to pursue different degrees.
Absolutely. After failure, though, I think we fail our way to success. I'm not saying I'm super successful, but you do, though. You fail. I think you learn more from your failures than you do your wins. But I think through the failures are where you learn the most valuable lessons. That's where you gain your real wisdom. So it's through the failures that I've had through the years that have allowed me to come into a better person than I am now.
And we're mostly talking about personal and professional failures, not parenting failures.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, some parenting failures too. I'm not going to say that I'm the perfect parent. Absolutely not. No. but I've learned to grow and adapt over the years so I can become a better parent, a better father, and a better husband along the way when that time comes again,
Sure.
But I think that you can't be afraid to fail, and the vulnerability, I had to learn to be comfortable with that in order to open up to be a better man. I think when you become more vulnerable, you're able to develop more, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Develop those relationships. And that's the key word for today, I think, is being vulnerable, right? Not just a parent.
So your feedback to anyone asking might be to reach out, get some support, do the self-reflection, be vulnerable. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
The closing question that I always like to ask is, in a word or two, or maybe a whole sentence if you really have to, how do you define family? What does it mean to you?
A family is not always the people that you were born with, but it's the people that you choose to keep in your life along the way. So to me, family is giving love, but also learning how to receive love. Sometimes as people, we don't know how to receive love, because we feel like it comes at a cost, right?
You're talking about these huge concepts, vulnerability, receiving love, and they're all like, I'm nodding along like, yes, but they're so hard. They're hard to do.
Yeah, they are, because it's difficult. It is, because we love people based on how we want to be loved. And we don't understand that people see love differently. Kids see love differently. So really, I think the word is love. How you receive and how you give it, right? But if you don't love yourself first, how can you give love? Because you don't even know what it feels like.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for our chance to get to know one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my handle on social media is Main Event, MAINAVENT, at Main Event on Instagram. The clothing brand is Main Event Sports and Apparel on Instagram. And Facebook is Ashon Avent. My nickname is Chewy. It's been like that since 7th grade. So I welcome anybody to call me Ashon or Chewy. It's pretty cool with me. Fine.
That's great. And we could reach out just because we love listening to you, or if we want to get some coaching or some athletic apparel. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes, for sure. Definitely. And even if it's just, just coaching and just having a healthier lifestyle, right? I used to be 400 pounds and I lost 200 pounds with no surgery, just by changing some of the things in my life. So that's a portion of loving yourself is, treating yourself first. So many times, Julia, I'll say this and I'll wrap up, is that we give so much to everyone else and we forget about ourselves.
That is so
right?
true.
And as a parent, I think it's the most selfless thing that you'll ever do is to give up a portion of you for your kids. And because of that, or as a spouse, or as a wife, or as a friend, or as a boyfriend, as a girlfriend, as an auntie, you want to help everybody, but then you forget about yourself and you become unhealthy. And that's one of the things that I just want to remind people. It's okay to put yourself first, and it's okay to be selfish, and it's okay to do what you need to do for you to make sure that you're healthy mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Go enjoy your Saturday. Go enjoy your birthday weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Stork'd with your host, Julia Carroll. This podcast is changing the conversation around the ways people define and create family. For more information, visit storkedpodcast.com to sign up for our newsletter. And while you're there, leave us a message describing what a modern family means to you. That's STORKD podcast.com.